Yeah, some fireworks in the courtroom for day 2 of the Karen Reed retrial. Our guy was in there, and he's coming along shortly. Shannon Sharpe says he did not rape anyone. He's the victim of a shakedown. Why then offer $10 million in a settlement? His lawyer, the legendary Lanny Davis, is with us, and we will talk to him first up. It's Hot Mics with Billy Bush, presented by LA Golf. Hey, how are you? Wednesday. The mics are about to get hot with Lanny Davis, a name you know if you're old enough. Lanny was special counsel to President Bill Clinton. He specializes in managing high-profile crises involving legal, media people, political situations. He's currently representing 56-year-old former NFL player, podcaster, ESPN commentator Shannon Sharpe, who is being accused of rape by, what was it, Jane Doe. They fired right away and said her name is Gabriela Zuniga, and she's an OnlyFans content creator in her early 20s. Gabby, as she's known, has filed suit in Nevada, accusing Shannon Sharpe of raping her multiple times, 2024 and early 2025 during their year-long relationship. We've seen this before, right? Incidents of rape, abuse, sexual assault within what would be constituting a long-term relationship. Well, she's not the woman who was heard having sex with Shannon when he accidentally, one has to assume, streamed live audio of their sexual encounter last September. Different person. But she claims, this woman, Gabby, a pattern of intimidation, manipulation, and abuse, including that he threatened to choke her and slap her. Her lawyer, another familiar name, Tony Busby, right? He's the lawyer who represented a woman who claimed that she was raped by Diddy and Jay-Z when she was 13. Jay-Z responded in force. That suit was dropped. Jay-Z has since filed a defamation suit against Tony Busby, going after the lawyer himself personally. But Busby presses on against Shannon Sharpe. He released this recorded phone conversation between Shannon Sharpe and the alleged accuser, which, if taken literally, is damning to Shannon, or if you see it his way, is evidence of a shakedown, entrapment, if you will. In my view, it does sound a little like she is speaking in the manner of someone who pressed record moments before.
You want to be a dick to me now, so.
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm going to choke the out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do.
Okay. I mean, some people do this, right? You know, the choking thing. It's not for me. But today, more audio released. All right, let's listen to that.
Well, I'm not really interested in getting choked, so I guess we're going.
Yeah, I might choke you in public. Big black guy chokes small white woman.
Oh, man. I mean, 56 and a woman in her early 20s from OnlyFans. I mean, you know, we all make choices. He's got to be regretting that one, I hope. I don't know. It's been talked about before, by the way. That'll come up in a second here. But beyond that conversation, a damning sex tape between Shannon and the accuser is expected to drop imminently. Shannon says, be forewarned, that tape will not be seen in its full context. It will be edited to show aggression. Shannon, for his part, issued this apology yesterday. You may have seen it.
Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media.
Well, he believes his innocence for sure because he's inviting, Tony Busby to put out the entire tape. 30 seconds would be more than enough for me. Probably 29 seconds too much, frankly. But anyway, Shannon Sharpe's lawyer is Lanny Davis, and he echoes his client and calls the whole thing a shakedown. He released text messages from the accuser, Miss Zuniga, to his client that he hopes permits the court of public opinion, basically, to understand the nature of the relationship between these two. So here are texts from Gabby to Shannon Sharpe, October 7, 2023. Call me. I feel like effing with you. October 9th, 2 days later. I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're with me. Okay, well, there's the choking. She's requested it in that one. November 23rd, a month later. Only if you put that baby gravy in me. That is a term I've never heard. But if you put that baby gravy in me, then you can do whatever you want to me. That's what she says. January 12th, 2024, a year before the fallout. I want to put my tongue in a very, very sacred and interesting place. I can't even say it. Was raised by a very sweet mother. She loves my podcast and she listens all the time. She wants to put the tongue, Mom, somewhere that, I know your generation never even considered it. I know that for a fact, and it has to be that way. For my own preservation. Look, these are two freaks, no doubt. Whether something improper happened, there will be a course of action. We will find out. Here is another clip, though. A 2024 Shannon Sharpe interview with Monique that kind of touches on what I was saying a moment ago on social media about the age difference. Here we go.
You don't need no 36-year-old girl. This is your auntie talking to you. Take your ass and get your old bitch out there that can love you old. You're trying to hang out with these young bitches and you can't do it, Shannon. You just can't do it.
She's ripping on him. Take a young, 56 and 21 or I don't know. I mean, I have daughters who are, 26, 24, and 20. My 53-year-old ass is not, my oldest daughter says, you can only date someone 15 years older than your oldest daughter, which would mean 41 for me. I've seen many marriages. I work different ways, but 20s, 21, oh my God. What do you talk about? Anyway, I guess it's not about talking. Lanny Davis, Shannon's lawyer, admitted yesterday that before he arrived on the scene, Shannon offered at least $10 million to settle the matter in mediation with this woman. She turned it down. Never in my mind the logical move of a man. You don't offer a settlement. You saw what Jay-Z did earlier, right? Jay-Z got accused of something terrible. He didn't offer to settle. He went and mounted a massive counterattack. And ultimately, they dropped that suit, and now he's still pursuing this Tony Busby, same guy, same lawyer, to clear his name. That's sort of, to me, that feels like the way you behave when accused of something heinous. But, Lanny will answer that. So I spoke to Shannon's lawyer, Lanny, this morning, several hours ago from my home. Here's how it went. My question is, why would Shannon Sharpe offer $10 million to someone who is allegedly shaking him down?
Thank you for that question. It's amazing how many people have asked me that question, so you have good company.
Okay, but it's the obvious one. It's the one that jumps out at you. If someone accuses me of something horrible, I'm not offering them a dime.
So what's the definition of blackmail? Why do people who are talking about blackmail pay money? It's because what is about to be revealed was a private act that could embarrass them and their family and hurt their reputation and their business. So blackmail, by definition, is paying money when you're innocent. If anyone wants to look at the definition of blackmail, interview 1,000 people who've been in blackmail situations who pay the money when they're totally innocent. So the answer to your question is that totally innocent people who are under a threat of blackmail, which is defined as revealing something privately that will embarrass or harm them, are willing to pay money even though they're 100% innocent. You can find 1,000 people easily who have been in the same position as Shannon Sharpe and makes the unfortunate and difficult choice of paying money when he's innocent in order to protect his family, his business, and his reputation.
Yeah, I mean, Shannon was about to sign a big contract, like $100 million deal. I'm wondering, and then this thing arrives days before these accusations. Is that deal in jeopardy, or is it going through?
We hope it isn't in jeopardy, but let me repeat one more time. It is amazing to me, no criticism intended of the question, that anybody assumes that someone who pays blackmail is guilty of anything. And so all I ask your viewers again is ask yourself, if you're the victim, if a private act and an edited tape even added to the private act that is suddenly threatened by somebody, in this case a woman, I'm going to go public unless you pay me a lot of money, and you want to protect your family, your business, or anything else about your reputation, does that imply any guilt? Never.
It's called
is a blackmailed
shame.
person.
It's called shame, and it's powerful. And we'll do. We human beings will do a lot to cover it up or to keep it hidden from people. We all have shame. I think your answer is more than adequate. I think it's the only answer, Lanny.
I have to thank you. I do want to add or slightly modify what you just said. He feels no shame. He did nothing wrong. This was consensual. This was long-standing consensual behavior. When he moved to Las Vegas, she followed him there. When she invited him to her apartment, he had to go through several access points, and she was there to let him in. When they engaged in the sexual activity that she explicitly and many, many times asked him on the various text messages that are now the evidence we put into the public marketplace.
Yeah.
And he performed exactly consensually what she had asked him to do. She secretly taped him. And then she edited the tape, and we've called upon her lawyer, Mr. Busby, who's denying editing. Okay, then show the tape to an expert because you have nothing to hide. And guess what he has said? No. And he won't answer the media's question, well, why not? Are you hiding the editing? So the answer is Mr. Sharpe completely acted consensually, consistent with multiple text messages that are now distributed in the public marketplace, and he's 100% innocent of the charge of rape. That is an outstandingly lying, intentionally willful lie that extorted him to pay money to avoid a public charge of rape. Now he's got to prove himself in court.
Is there anything or something that Shannon, can own in this ordeal? I mean, in September, he had there was a live stream of a sexual encounter that went out, different person, not this woman, but does he maybe need to take inventory of his operations at this moment?
Thanks for that question. I really appreciate it because I have a reputation in this type of media crisis of advising my clients to step up and tell it early, tell it all, tell it yourself, the mantra of a book that I wrote about my White House experience. The answer is yes. He has taken responsibility for the mistake he made about the live stream. He's taken responsibility about this relationship getting to the point where he should have seen the warning signs by her text messages.
She's very young. She was 20 when he met her. I mean, he's 56-year-old man.
Excuse me, 20 is an adult. I don't buy that.
Of course, but
I just simply disagree with the assumption that there's any age issue here. So 56-20, 56-40, that is not an issue in my opinion. But I do, and we have had him say on camera, and he has written that he takes responsibility for the mistakes made in this relationship. It has nothing to do with the word rape, which is a vicious, willful lie, a setup with a secret tape edited, and then pure blackmail to try to buy protection for his family and himself. That's the truth. And if you saw him on Instagram live when he posted yesterday, that's a man, if you watch it many times, that's a man telling the truth, but he's very regretful.
Look, I call it like I see it. Listen, the voice, her voice on the tape to me definitely sounds like a woman who knows that she pressed record moments ago. I can tell you that.
Could I interrupt you on that? What we're now getting are these telephone recordings from Mr. Busby. This is after he broke off negotiations for this to be put behind Mr. Sharpe without telling anybody, including the retired judge who was mediating and trying the blackmail discussions. We were ready to, they approached us and we were ready to pay the money. And without warning, he filed a lawsuit and went public. And then all of a sudden he's protesting, well, why are they mentioning her name? Well, excuse me. She's accusing my client of rape. I'm going to mention her name. Yeah. And her name is Gabriella Zuniga. And Gabriella is Gabby, Carly, and a lot of other aliases on OnlyFans, where she charges men to act out and to role play exactly what she asked my client, Mr. Sharpe, to do in explicit text messages, including put a collar around me, and I won't say on the air the other words that she used to ask him to do to her. So the truth is on our side, and the truth will prevail, as difficult this is for Mr. Sharpe.
Let me ask you about Tony Busby, opposing counsel. In the pantheon of celebrity lawyers, I would say his stock is down. Jay-Z suing him for defamation right now. Shannon says, he has a litigious thirst for black men. Is this guy the male Gloria Allred?
So I have made it a practice when I've been in politics, where this is done all the time, never to challenge motives, but to stick to indisputable facts. I'll let people judge by the pattern of his behavior, whether he has a pattern of doing this. Here are my facts. Fact one, he's lying that this was anything other than consensual. He knows that. Fact two, he was engaged in a private negotiation for Mr. Sharpe to pay the blackmail money. The number was very high. We had a retired judge as a mediator. We were very close, just about to finish, when, without warning, without picking up a telephone and professional courtesy to a fellow lawyer, he went public, filed a lawsuit. So those are facts. I'll let people draw conclusions about the behavior of another lawyer. I would just say to you, I would never act that way. That's my choice.
Tony Busby
decide.
He broke the mediation. $10 million was offered. Now the woman, the accuser, Gabby, wants $50 million. Is there a chance that mediation can happen again, or is that ship sailed?
That ship has sailed. Mr. Busby cannot be trusted, and that's nothing other than stating a fact. He was supposed to get back to us, and the retired judge, who was the mediator, was just as surprised by his decision without a heads-up professional courtesy. Hey, the deal is off. We're not going to go forward. We're going public. Just want to give you a heads up, even if it's 1 minute, so he doesn't think that Lanny Davis is going to jump in front of him. No heads up. No professional courtesy. Even the mediator was surprised. I'm going to let people judge for themselves whether Mr. Busby is right or wrong, ethical or unethical. I'm not using those kinds of words. But the facts about his past record with others and the facts of what he did with us simply speak for themselves. I'm not going to characterize them.
Speaking right now with Lanny Davis, a bit of a legend, represented President Bill Clinton during the Monica Lewinsky situation. You represented Martha Stewart. I do have a couple questions about a few people, but I don't know if you can do that. But I do want to know, Lanny, I'm sure you speak to Shannon all the time. I saw him recently, about a month ago, on an airplane. We were on the same flight. Can't remember where we were going, but it was definitely him. Didn't know that all this was on his shoulders at the time. How's he doing? What's his state of mind?
So thanks for asking. There is a human pain issue here, and you've just done a nice job of allowing me to explain. I spoke to him yesterday before he did his Instagram comment. Without notes, speaking from the heart, the only advice I gave him is tell the truth. And no anger, because he's sad, not angry. And that's what you saw. I can't say any more than please, everyone who's watching me here, find it and then ask yourself, is this man telling the truth? And when he says it was consensual, is there any chance that that can be proven to be the disgusting, vicious, willful lie by this lady who's an OnlyFans woman who is using Mr. Sharpe to make money through blackmail, just as she goes on OnlyFans and charges men while she acts out? Is a consistent pattern as to her behavior. But she is lying. And to answer your question, Shannon went on, Mr. Sharpe went on Instagram on his own. I gave him only the advice, tell the truth and no anger. Just tell the truth. And I'll let everybody judge for themselves. As to how he's doing, he's very sad, but he's sad because of embarrassment to his family. And that is the primary reason, maybe the exclusive, but the primary reason why people who are subject to blackmail pay the money. It has nothing to do with admitting guilt. And again, I go back to the early point. Anyone who thinks that you pay money when you're under blackmail because you're guilty should talk to 1,000 people who've been blackmailed. And it's literally not true.
Yeah. I mean, listen, would you say that, 3, 4, 5 years ago, this could be a problem because we had this thing of prosecution and the innocent before guilty was, innocent until proven guilty was out the window. We were prosecuting and putting guys away on accusations alone. Here we are. It's a different climate right now. And I hate to make a broad connection, but Trump kind of ushered that in. Is it possible that you're a man you don't like, Donald Trump, and his change of the climate will help Shannon Sharpe?
Well, and I blame a lot of things on Mr. Trump, but I'm not going to blame this one on him. The culture of the social media and the culture of the presumption of guilt, contrary to our Constitution, which is the presumption of innocence, is we're a product of the media and social media who makes and reports the accusation of this woman. By definition, she filed a public case accusing somebody of rape. That's going to be reported by news organizations. No criticism. It has to be reported.
But the reaction. People are fair. There's a digital town square, Lanny, right? And it's like you get pummeled just on an accusation. That was years ago, but I think it's a different time now. He's fortunate that climate has changed.
And maybe this is a final comment I'm making. Why am I doing this? Most lawyers don't talk to the media. Most lawyers will wait to have the trial take place. And there's no doubt in my mind that a jury is going to look at her text messages, look at her lack of credibility, look at the fact that these telephone calls that were being secretly recorded, that there looks like a plan was in place before the event that she claims was rape when she was secretly taping him and then edited the tape. Nobody is that dumb that they don't see that this adds up to a shakedown, a scheme of blackmail. But we'll wait until we get to court. To answer your question, until we get to court, the presumption of guilt is very, very common because of social media spreading a lie repeated so many times online.
I think you've done the right thing. You come out, you counterpunch when you've been wrongly accused. You have to come out strong. Brian Friedman, who represents Justin Baldoni in the Baldoni versus Lively. He's very smart about that. He gets out in front and he takes on questions. He does a great job with it. There's several that do. I think you're doing the right thing. I mean, if I'm him, I'm gonna roar out with my innocence.
But just to thank you for the comment, and I do find many people call me who follow the mantra of the book I wrote, when you're in this situation with the media, tell it early, tell it all, tell it yourself, and don't let it dribble out. Our Secretary of Defense might have followed that advice right from the very beginning. I wrote a column that recommended those words, tell it early, tell it all, tell it yourself, Mr. Hexbeth. He didn't follow that advice. So yes, this is what we're doing, but you can't do this. And I wrote a book about this. You cannot do what I'm now doing with you right now I don't have documented proof that my client is telling the truth. So we have the facts and the proof on our side, and that's why we're confident in the outcome of the jury verdict.
All right, Lanny Davis representing Shannon Sharpe, who's being accused of rape by this woman with whom he was in a relationship. Stephen A. Smith, a very important guy at ESPN, Disney, kind of brought Shannon into the First Take world. His friend, he spoke yesterday, and
I didn't know that.
He said, "Look, I love my friend. I know this man. He's a good man. I don't know what's going to happen because this is above my pay grade." Speaking of Disney and ESPN executives, do they have the stomach for it? Jimmy Pitaro, does he have the stomach for it? Because even if Shannon is innocent, yeah, you're dating an OnlyFans person and whatever. Are you concerned that the corporate climate is still, I don't know, squeamish?
So I don't blame any company for worrying about losing audiences, and the profit is the most important thing for any company, justifiably. It's up to Disney and ESPN to determine whether their brand and their company business is being adversely affected, even though it's a false and lying charge. So it's up to them, and I respect whatever decision they make. But I do want to say one fact. I like to just stick to facts, let other people interpret. The audience for ESPN is probably, according to the data, 90% men, and it could be women too. Women are falsely accused. The Me Too movement began because finally the New York Times and others helped tell the truth. And so right now, the audience on ESPN and sports fans who love Shannon Sharpe, remember him from the NFL, see him on television, see him yesterday on Instagram, they know that he's telling the truth. They know that he's a good man. And so it'll be up to the audience to really let
a good man who made it,
know.
let's be honest, a good man who made a dumb choice with a very young OnlyFans girl. Shannon, date a nice woman in her 30s. That's when if I'm his friend, I say, stop with the young OnlyFans girls. Just, you're asking for trouble. These are just,
so
I would say
he certainly has his regrets, but there are a lot of men. I don't accept any characterization that she's young.
Not you, Lanny. I saw your lovely wife walk past that grandfather clock a moment ago, and she seems just delightful. You've been married a long time.
Let's agree he wishes he could redo this and has learned some lessons, and he has said that. But the fact is he's innocent and wrongly accused. And back to your question, the audience that watches ESPN is going to ultimately be the verdict here. And if they believe that a wrongly accused man in a setup in an extortion blackmail scheme should not be the reason why somebody is taken off the program because he was so popular, that's going to be a vote by the audience. I can't blame the owners or the ESPN managers if there's a backlash among his audience. I think that his audience will be recognizing the truth, a blackmail scheme. He went on himself and told the truth, and I'm hoping that the audience will render the verdict. I can't blame the owners if that isn't the case.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens, and you certainly he's lucky to have you in his corner. I think you guys are doing the right thing. I know you always get a question about Bill Clinton. I am not interested in that. I know you represented Harvey Weinstein for just a minute and then stepped down from his legal team October of 2017. He's being retried in New York. I guess I'd like to know why you stepped down, but do you think, legally also, does he have a shot here of what you've seen of being acquitted ultimately?
I have no idea. I rarely say I can't comment, but I am a lawyer with a former client. I did step down immediately when I read the New York Times story, and I learned a lot of facts, documented facts that I did not know. I immediately stepped down. The two authors of the New York Times story who received a Pulitzer Prize credited me with their ability to write the story. And in the movie that was made, the documentary that was made, somebody portrayed me who didn't have any hair, and I didn't like the portrayal, but I'm only kidding. He's a great actor. And the subtlety of what I did portrayed in that movie, somebody who played my role was that I helped the reporter do what Mr. Weinstein authorized me to do, which is to confirm that non-disclosure agreements had been used. And that was the key moment in the book where they say their editor, Dean Paquette, said, if Lanny Davis confirmed, we can go with the story. So I not only resigned, Mr. Weinstein had authorized me to confirm that fact, and that allowed the story to be published. And I appreciated Jodi Kantor, one of the two authors, who posted on Twitter the fact that I had resigned, and the movie portrayed, and their book portrayed me as, thanks to Mr. Weinstein allowing me to do this, I couldn't have done it unless he had agreed. I confirmed the use of non-disclosure agreements, and that's what happened. As far as my relationship with him, I can't comment other than as soon as I read the New York Times story and learned a lot of things I didn't know, I resigned.
Is it possible to you that while being a lecherous creep, of which there's no question he is, he's not a rapist and that he could get off here, so to speak?
So I can interrupt you. I'm just not going to comment about a former client when I quit immediately, as long as you allowed me and asked me the question. I appreciate. I immediately quit when I read the New York Times story, which was confirmed by one of the two reporters on Twitter.
Okay, respect. Lanny, thank you very much for talking about Shannon, and we'll see where it goes. But looks like you guys have your stuff in order. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Much appreciated on my side. Thank you.
Okay, take care. There he goes. So that was my early morning conversation with Lanny Davis, who seems to be definitely more concerned with the legalities here and less about the morality or anything else of the whole thing. But anyway, I mean, and by the way, no fond memories of Harvey Weinstein for him, that's for sure. Rob Silverstein, my producer here, and Rob, you worked at, in sports, CBS Sports for 15 years. What do you think goes on here? And you've dealt with many an executive at a big media company. Do you think Shannon Sharpe is in trouble with ESPN?
I do. It's Disney. They don't really go for this stuff. They fired Jamel Hill over a tweet about Donald Trump. Yeah, was gone. Sage Steele had some issues with them too. Those voicemails.
I will say Stephen A. Smith gets away with a lot more than anyone else,
but not degenerate stuff. I mean, those voicemails are, there's a lot of degenerate stuff there. That more from a moral perspective, legal aside, is troubling.
Trouble for ESPN. What do you think about the podcast? He's got $100 million podcast deal.
I think that deal is going to go through. I think he's going to be fine because the podcast rules, as we know, there are no guardrails. There's no body above it. It's his podcast. They're going to give him that money. He's going to get that podcast. That's how I think, because it's a different world out there. But I think as far as ESPN,
if he had to choose, he'll take the $100 million is my guess. All right. Thanks. Okay. Karen Reed trial is underway. Oh my gosh, it's day 2 today. There are fireworks in the courtroom. It's unbelievable. There's a great reporter from the Boston Herald named Flint McColgan. He's been in the courtroom all through the first trial. He was back in there in the last 2 days.
What a great name, Bill.
Flint McColgan on the beat for Hot Mics. We will be talking. If I ever write a script and it calls for a beat reporter, I'm calling him Flint McColgan. Anyway, he's all over this thing, and we will talk about all the action that happened in there today. I will say that her defense lawyer, Alan Jackson, is a beast. So that's coming up straight ahead. All those highlights and Flint McColgan. We'll get to that. But first, I got to tell you something very important. Hot Mics with Billy Bush is sponsored by these great people at LA Golf. The most technologically advanced golf gear on the market. You can get more out of your game, and you probably need it like me. With LA Golf's advanced ball technology, shaft design, taking your swing to the next level. They got a new Face ID driver designed by Bryson DeChambeau to cut down on the big hook and the big slice and keeping that ball in bounds by taking your swing speed and matching the size of the face on the driver. It's an unbelievable thing. So get to lagolf.com and get one for yourself. We are back in 30 seconds.
Welcome to LA Golf. You guys ready for the tour? We're the only golf company that manufactures its clubs here in the United States. All LA Golf drivers are built right here.
I'm very excited for today's production. It's going to be
4 left.
Anybody hungry? So does he, like, work here?
Work here? He lives here.
All right, the Karen Reed trial got rolling today in the courtroom, baby. It was unbelievable. I'm telling you, there were fireworks in there like you wouldn't believe. I mean, opening statements yesterday, day 2 action today. Good news for Karen Reed. Her lawyer, Alan Jackson, was on fuego. Bad news, the new prosecutor, there's a guy that replaced the prosecutor from the first trial. The new guy is much better. Hank Brennan, a formidable guy, represented James Whitey Bulger back in the day. He's putting on a better show. Quick synopsis here, if you have not caught up on the Karen Reed trial. The first trial was in 2023, and it revolved around the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, who prosecutors claim was struck by Karen in her SUV on a snowy night of January 28th, 2022. She was accused of 3 things: second-degree murder, manslaughter while operating under the influence of alcohol, and leaving the scene. Karen Reed pled guilty to all, Karen Reed pled not guilty to all charges. Her defense team argued that she was a victim of an elaborate framing, suggesting that O'Keefe was involved in an altercation in the house of his cop buddies where he went after a night of drinking at the bars. He went to the after party, and they assume a fight happened there. The trial ended in a mistrial in July 2024, last summer. But the fact that the judge did not relay, or the cop who served as foreman of that jury did not decipher, that the jury was unanimous in their not guilty verdicts of 2 of the counts. There was a unanimous vote saying she absolutely did not intentionally murder the guy, and she did not flee the scene. Was she drunk and possibly hit him with the car? They were hung on that. So, kind of shady. They declared a mistrial. And now all 3 counts, even though 2 of them were completely exonerated, all 3 counts are back on the docket again. So yesterday, it begins all over. Hank Brennan, the new prosecutor, laid out his case that Karen was drunk with a blood alcohol content, which was estimated to be between 0.135% and 0.292%, which is very big for a small woman. At the time of the incident, she was drunk, they say, and she was angry because she and her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, had been fighting. Well, Alan Jackson, Karen's defense lawyer, laid out what felt to me as more than enough to at least create reasonable doubt. I mean, if not the foundation for a whole new murder trial featuring whoever actually inflicted the blunt force trauma to the back of this young guy's head, as well as a black eye to the front. Oh, and the violent scratches up his arm, which has to be the dog in the house. No part of a car is putting scratch marks all the way up. You know, if you're backing, I don't care what speed you're backing into somebody, scratch marks all over? I don't think so. There's so much here. I mean, there's a tail light, at 5 in the morning, they find the guy, and they find her car at 5 in the morning. It's got 1 crack in the tail light. The car was taken to a garage run by the state troopers. And in that garage, there's someone back there tinkering with the tail light. It looks like they're on the driver's side, but then it's revealed by the defense lawyers that video was reversed. It's actually on the passenger side, the real, which is exactly where the damage was done. When they found his body at 6 a.m., no signs of hypothermia. The first on the scene was Canton local police, and they said all they could find was cocktail glass shards. Later on, when the shady state trooper, Michael Proctor, took over, he finds all kinds of broken taillight pieces. Might he had gotten them in the garage where he was actually seen back there, tampering with the light? Well, today, Alan Jackson sliced and diced this woman, Kerry Roberts, a friend of John O'Keefe's, and the woman, Karen Reed, frantically called at 5 o'clock in the morning when she woke up and discovered her boyfriend hadn't come home. Together with one more woman, this woman, Jen McCabe, the 3 of them drove around that morning looking for John, and ultimately they found him dead in the snow on the front yard of Boston police officer Brian Albert's house, where he had been left by Karen Reed. Kerry Roberts this woman on the stand was a prosecution witness today, I think they had higher hopes for her. Okay, joining us right now is an unbelievable crime reporter from the Boston Herald. We love the guy. When you hear the name Flint McColgan, believe me, you're thinking old, grizzled, reporter. He's a young, fresh daisy right there, sharp as he can be, in the courtroom the last 2 days. Flint, thank you so much. We're following all of your reporting, and you're doing a great job. Who prevailed on opening day, prosecution, defense?
They both put their best foot forward there. I have to say that it comes down to 3 words for both sides. So for Hank Brennan's opening, it was all about Karen Reed allegedly saying, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him" at the scene that first responders allegedly heard her hear. And in response, Alan Jackson, he framed it as the 3 things jurors need to take away are that there was no collision, there was no collision, there was no collision. And instead that Karen Reed is, the victim of a huge frame-up job involving corrupt police and prosecutors.
Seems to be a pretty, unanimous belief that the new prosecutor, Hank Brennan, is way better than the former prosecutor. So would you say this was a better day one for the prosecution than it was the first time around?
So they definitely have different styles. Not in the business of having opinions, but they have different styles. And I will say that it's moving a lot faster. So we had 6 days of first responders all testifying that it was snowing outside practically, and now, we had one responder doing practically all the shorthand for that. And then we're on to Carrie Roberts. And then Peggy O'Keefe, John O'Keefe, the victim's mother, took the stand today as well. So we're moving right along. Seems to be much faster and less boring repetition.
I'm fascinated with John O'Keefe's mom, Peggy O'Keefe. She seems to be, I don't know whether she didn't like Karen Reed from the beginning and thought she was a bad match for her boy or whatever, but she's complete with all the evidence that, that the defense team has laid out. It's amazing. The mother doesn't seem to think at all. Nothing seems to be registering with her that it's a possibility that something happened in the house with these, other cops and a fight took place and, that maybe they're responsible. Does she seem to be open to that at all?
I can't speak to what she feels deep down or anything, but certainly taking the stand, it was very emotional. And in fact, there was no cross-examination. Alan Jackson just got up and said he's sorry for her loss and said he had no questions for her. But so the thing is that, so
that's
she has always been on the prosecution side of the thing as far as we know. She doesn't give public statements. We don't really get to know her inner workings, but they do not seem friendly to Karen Reed. And in fact, on the stand today, Peggy O'Keefe said that when she went to the hospital to go check on her son the night, when he was there, that Karen Reed was there and had asked her, "Is he dead? Is he dead, Peg?" And apparently Peggy O'Keefe just asked a nurse, "What is she doing here?" So it shows she wasn't happy to see Karen Reed, at least.
And we get the sense, right, that their relationship was rocky. They had a rocky relationship no matter what. But at the same time, another man that was in that house when Karen dropped off John O'Keefe and he went to the after party there, she did not go with him. But inside was another police officer named Brian Higgins, with whom Karen Reed had been texting up until a few days before, and they had been openly flirty. "I think you're hot. I want to, come see me, come over. Have you always liked me? Yeah, I liked you from jump." And then she ghosted him.
And even kissed.
And they kissed
outside of a football viewing party. So
right. So their relationship was rocky, and she was also flirting with another guy inside. It doesn't seem like anyone's probing into what might be, some friction between the two men. The guy dating her and the guy who wants to date her.
Yeah, it's certainly something that the defense has brought up. I mean, in the last trial, there was they didn't outright say that Brian Higgins, wanted to get O'Keefe out of the way or something, but I think that they heavily implied it. That he felt hurt that he was ghosted, and he was like, maybe I had a chance with her, and maybe a fight occurred there that led to John O'Keefe's death. That's what they talked about in the last one. I think they're gearing up to also introduce that as we move along in the trial.
Is there any way, because that's what's new about the defense this time, right? The judge is actually allowing something called third-party culprit defense strategy, right? Does this mean that Alan Jackson and the defense lawyers for Karen Read are allowed to implicate and who they think might have been the murderer?
Well, it's actually largely the same as the first trial. They weren't allowed to outright name third-party killers in the opening statements, but they're allowed to develop it over testimony, over time.
Shape it.
Secondary idea, yeah. And so, they're already battle-tested from the first trial. They probably, are looking at what worked, what didn't work, and I think their theory is going to have more of an edge this time around.
What is the most compelling thing of all? I see a mountain of favorable evidence for the defense. And I see the fact that this Brian Albert guy who owned the home and his buddy Brian Higgins, the two big Brians, they exchange a phone call in the 2 a.m. hour to each other. They each say it was a butt dial. They both got rid of their phones a day before the state issued a data protection order, like you have to preserve your phones. They both destroyed their phones.
Brian Higgins at a military base, no less.
Brian Higgins at a military base. There's just a mountain of they got rid of the dog. There were scratch marks all over John O'Keefe's arm when he landed, clearly of a dog. They tested the scratch marks for DNA, and they have pig DNA on them. Dogs eat lots of pork. I mean, that's a problem. There seems to be but to you
no
jumps
dog
out?
DNA though. That's
no
that's
dog
the
DNA,
there.
just pig DNA. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a little confusing. And then also,
the woman, Jennifer McCabe. I mean, this woman texts.
Yeah.
I mean, she searches at 2 o'clock in the morning around the same time the boys are on the phone butt dialing each other. She gets on and searches how long to die in the cold, meaning how long to die in the cold. Why would you do that?
And we saw Hank. Brennan and Jackson already queuing that up while they aren't bringing it up right now because Jennifer McCabe has not yet been called. She is already all over this trial. I mean, cross-examination of Carrie Roberts today was just heavily suggesting that, she was in Jennifer McCabe's sphere of influence over this. And Jennifer McCabe is central to the defense's theory that other people did kill John O'Keefe. And if she did make that Google search at 2:24 in the morning, that would mean that she knew he was out there in the snow well before he was found at around 6 a.m.
So Jennifer McCabe, everyone's looking at, she's the wife of Matt McCabe, who's one of the guys in the house. And so she would be looked at by the defense possibly as the ringleader. If there's a conspiracy of about 12 to 13 law enforcement professionals and their family members, their kids, EMTs, that is challenging alone for the defense. We have to believe that somehow this massive group of people are all telling the same story. Nobody has broken or cracked on the stand, and that the woman holding it all together, the madam, the mama, is this Jen McCabe.
Yeah, and it's even closer than that. I mean, she's Brian Albert's sister-in-law. I mean, her sister is Brian Albert's wife. But yeah, it was alluded to today by Daniel Whitley, one of the Canton firefighter paramedics who was also on the stand. He just said, Canton's a small town. We all kind of know each other. So, that I think the prosecution's going to lean into that as a way to trying to rebut the idea that, oh, look at how interconnected everyone is. Well, the prosecution's trying to show that, well, everyone's interconnected in a small town like Canton.
Flint McColgan from the Boston Herald covering the Karen Read retrial. Flint, how long, any gut sort of feeling on how long this might go this time around? Last time was 3 months.
Yeah, it was like 9 weeks last time. Judge Clooney's been predicting 8 weeks during jury selection. That's what she was telling them. But if this fast pace continues, since we didn't have 6 days of first responders saying largely the same testimony, I mean, if we are working at a faster clip, I'm hoping it won't last nearly as long. So we'll see.
I got it, man. And the media scene in Boston must be bonkers. Is everybody?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We're under a different system. I used to wake up at 3:30 in the morning to try to grab a seat to get into the courtroom. Now we're on a randomizer system. I'm in this week and I'm in next week. We'll see going forward. So
I'll tell you what, if I was a judge, if I was running my own courthouse, there would never be a trial without the great Flint McColgan from the Boston Herald in the seat.
Well, thank you very much.
Flint, hey, stay in touch, will you? We'll keep up with you and appreciate all your great work. Thanks, man.
Okay, thanks for having me on.
He's good stuff. Google his work, man. Flint McColgan he's all over this trial. It's incredible. I mean, I'm so taken with this whole thing. I can't believe. I just don't know how the prosecution gets out this. They're saying she said, I did it, but you have no recordings of I did it. Alan Jackson put one recording up today that seemed, it was so faint, and he asked the witness, the friend who was with her, like, can you hear her say, something to the effect of, is he dead? Is he dead? What is it? And she's like, no, I didn't hear it. But if they can get some kind of audio forensic guy to get in there and boost the sound on that, and that's what she said, that blows a hole. They really, that's all they're going with. The fact that she said, I did it. And yet there's no evidence. It's a he said, they said. Okay, let's get into some hot mics, hot takes coming up. A new war of words between George Clooney and Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly's not afraid to punch up, punch down, punch sideways. Plus, a new poll about social media that may surprise you. I mean, it's really weird. Michelle Obama is also talking, about the state of her marriage. So she's finally doing that. Hot mics, hot takes coming up. But first, let me tell you this. If you're listening to us right now on TuneIn, don't miss a second of the action with TuneIn Premium and unlock access to college sports with every NHL game that has blackouts and more, and the playoffs are on now, so it's awesome. Plus, enjoy more than 100,000 commercial-free music and news stations all over the world, so you can stay connected with everything. Go to tunein.com/premium and sign up today to unlock it all. Back in 30.
Welcome to LA Golf. You guys ready for the tour? We're the only golf company that manufactures its clubs here in the United States. All LA golf drivers are built right here.
I'm very excited for today's production. It's going to be
4 left. Anybody hungry? So does he work here?
Work here? He lives here.
All right, back on Hot Mics right now with Billy Bush and Rob Silverstein, producer extraordinaire. What's in the hot takes today?
Bill, a lot of speculation about the Obama marriage after Michelle Obama didn't show up at the inauguration.
Yeah.
And people assume...
And also Jimmy Carter's funeral.
Jimmy Carter's funeral. Well, today, for the first time, Michelle Obama addressed those rumors. Roll the tape.
Wow.
My decision to skip the inauguration, what people don't realize, or my decision to make choices at the beginning of this year that suited me were met with such ridicule and criticism. Like, people couldn't believe that I was saying no for any other reason, that they had to assume that my marriage was falling apart.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's like, while I'm here really trying to own my life and intentionally practice making the choice that was right for me, and it took everything in my power to not do the thing that was right, or that was perceived as right, but do the thing that was right for me.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard thing for me to do.
Bill, here's my thought. She also said she didn't have a dress. If you keep listening.
She didn't have a dress?
She didn't have a dress.
Now that I have to buy my own,
Right. I'm all for her. I don't buy into the marriage issue. I mean, every marriage has their issues.
I don't buy into the Jennifer Aniston and Barack Obama part of it.
That at all. That's bull.
Listen, if you're in a marriage and it's gone as long as theirs has, which is what, 30 years more, you're going to have terrible problems. You're going to have peaks and valleys. You're going to go through a period of years. I once asked my beloved mother, who's 85, and she was married to my dad for 55 years, and he died a few years ago, as you know. But I said, Mom, you had a great marriage with Dad. What a wonderful thing to have made it all the way. She goes, no. It was wonderful. There was a period of about 15 years that were terrible. And I was like, 15 years? No one sticks with it anymore, including me. Right? But That's amazing that then she's like, it got amazing after that. So if you could just make it through these 15.
You know, my wife's stepdad, okay, was married for 35 years. And I asked him, what? He goes, worst 35 years of my life.
What?
I said, Harold, 35 years.
Harold Katz.
Yes, little Harold Katz. Yes.
Little Harold Katz.
Where's
Worst 35 years of my life.
All right, Bill, I need to put on the glasses for this one because I need to read a little, all right?
Okay.
All right. George Clooney is on Broadway starring in Good Night and Good Luck, which is about Edward R. Murrow reporting on the McCarthy Red Scare, okay? During a 60 Minutes interview, Clooney said journalism has to be waged like war, all right? Megyn Kelly then mocked Clooney for lecturing journalists on how to do their job, saying George Clooney's idea of journalism is just toe the party line when it helps the left and say what needs to be said and bury what needs to be said so long as it will hurt the right. Well, George responded to Kelly on Actors on Actors Broadway, speaking to Patti LuPone.
Okay.
You see Megyn Kelly, she's who's come out and said, I'm not a journalist. I didn't say I was a journalist.
Neither is she, by the way. Anyway.
But I'm not quite sure what she's done. I've at least been to, Darfur and Sudan and the Congo and been shot at and to try to get stories out. I'm not quite sure what she has done to be a journalist.
Oh, by the way, he has no idea what gift he gave Megyn Kelly. She knows how to whip an algorithm like nobody's business, baby.
Bill.
Oh, you're feeding right into it. Here come the views. Here come the clicks.
She's
Here
going
come
to
the
fire
comments.
at Clooney, and there's no question about it. The George hair is absolutely awful. That dark hair is just terrible.
Well,
it's for a role. We get that.
He's playing Edward R. Murrow.
Yes, I get that.
There's nothing, but I love that though. Don't you love it when you're watching? One day I was watching one of the guys on I had Fox News on, and one of the guys who was like a totally gray-haired guy. I think it was John Roberts. John Roberts is a gray-haired guy, and he's back to gray hair right now. He's a deeply handsome man.
Very.
Dignified gray hair. Up there with like Blake Carrington of Dynasty, handsome.
Gray hair.
But on one day he shows up and it's like Auburn Brown. And you're like, whoa, Jesus, too much.
I know. You know who does that? Arnold. Arnold does that a lot. Arnold
A lot of guys do it.
And Stallone. Stallone is like, oh, you got it.
I'm going to confess. I feel like I need to confess.
Why?
I have a little of that stuff from CVS. It's very simple. It's like it's gray out. It just does a little of the gray. It's not working right now, and I'm kind of giving up.
No, but
there is a little bit of a pressure to be like, oh man, I don't want to be an old dude.
Well, Bill,
So,
I have to admit, I do a smudge. Red pants. Who we
I also now have to admit that I know you did.
I know.
I just want, but I prefer having you come out and say it. I think it's
I'm
good for
not
you.
ashamed of it. It's not. I'm not dyeing my hair.
You know
Let's
what?
get that
I'm
straight.
also going to say that, we whisper about it sometimes amongst
We
all
do?
the group in here. Hey, guys, nod. Look, everybody's in they all know, right?
What do you mean?
Marissa. See Marissa, beautiful Marissa in the
Marissa
back
has
right
no
there.
idea. She knows me for 2 months.
I know, but Marissa was saying to me the other day, she's like, should we say something or do we let him go? I said, we let him
Does
go.
she
Let him.
think I look younger, maybe better?
She said you look very young.
Good,
in fact,
good.
very, very young.
All right. Bill, RFK Jr. wants to ban synthetic food dyes.
Yes, he does.
Right. And targeting chemicals that are in American snacks, neon colors. Bill, I don't like a lot about RFK Jr., but I like this.
His comments about autism last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, not good. People got upset about it. I think his intention was good, but I know a particular friend of ours whose child is autistic was, saying these people, they can't have this, they can't have that. She's like, wait a minute. No, my son has been able to do amazing things that offended her. But can we all agree that color on a Fruit Loop is just not okay? Look at that. I feel the same way about popcorn at the movie theater. When I go in and they say to me, would you like butter on it? I say, butter, it's yellow. Why would I put butter on yellow?
And by the way, they're not putting butter on that.
Oh, no, they're putting paint thinner.
Right. That's
shellac.
Awful. And shellac. When you go to get pancakes now, you don't get maple syrup. There's no maple syrup. You get some kind of corn syrup that they give you, which is terrible.
By the way, my father was a great man. He always took his own maple syrup. Maine, Vermont, Canadian maple syrup. He would take it to the diner when he'd go for breakfast because he was not having that log cabin, shit.
I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah,
because
take your own.
Now, I don't eat pancakes that often, but when I go with Big Mitch, who's now my son-in-law, he's 6'5", he gets a full order of pancakes as his side.
Yeah.
So he has a main thing, and then that's his side. 3 monsters come out, and he goes crazy. Guy can't stop eating. He's one of the world-class eaters.
It's like nobody can see you at the table until they move the pancakes.
It's unbelievable.
All right.
There's a little social media study, okay, that social media might be good for kids, at least according to kids. 74% of teens say social media makes them feel more connected to their friends, which was the original premise of social media. But there's been so much negative stuff about social media and kids.
What do you think?
I think social media is awful for kids.
I do too.
I watch people at restaurants.
But they don't know any different, and they're hooked to it. They're hopeless addicts, and they're like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? I can't. I put it down. I'm a hopeless addict."
You know, it's
it
a
kills
parent
me.
thing. But parents,
yeah,
I've got to be strong, and they're not. And I see what happens at restaurants. When we were with kids, and I have 4 of them, no phones. They're not bringing phones to the restaurant. They're not looking at it.
I'm not saying I'm a great father. I'll let others say that. But I did bribe my 3 girls. I said, I'll give you several $1,000s each to hang it up for a year. And they barely ever use it now. And they all took the money. But if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. If I have evidence that you used it, the money comes back and they put it down.
Our kids are in their 20s.
Yeah.
So I think they might have missed, they didn't, at 6 years old, there wasn't the iPhone, you know?
Send in the clown.
I'm done.
Send in the clown.
Guess who's coming in here?
Here comes Vinny, Skinny Vinny, my beautiful assistant, Skinny Vinny, the Slim Reaper. I got a feeling he's dropped a few pounds this week.
A couple of months ago, he couldn't have sat in this chair. Now look at him.
Yeah, yeah.
Now he's right in there.
I used to have to buy him 2 tickets in economy. Now that was like, it was a Hollywood director who had to do that.
Tickets is crazy.
Anyway, Skinny Vinny, the last time we checked, it was about 29 pounds. He did take off 1 pound from week to week, right? That the right?
It was 1 pound in 2 weeks.
1 pound in 2 weeks. So where do you sit right at the last time we checked? It was like 240.
239.
239
Yeah.
from 267. Okay, so you was like 28. All right, let's see. Where do we go? Roll that tape. How much has he lost now? If he gets down, he just lose 50 pounds to get $5,000. 236. Hey, how much is that?
3 pounds. 3 pounds since last week.
Yeah, 30. So you've lost 30.
I've lost 31 pounds.
31
total
pounds
so far. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like this is getting kind of boring though. I need to do something drastic, dude.
Ozempic.
no, Ozempic.
Don't you dare let me catch you cheating.
No way.
All right, congratulations. But look at Vinny. Look at Vinny. I'm starting to see cheekbones, baby. This is like unbelievable.
Don't pay attention to that right there. That's not.
Did you get a zit?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, 31 pounds is a lot to be proud of. You're 5'7".
8 pounds down by next week. Watch.
If you can drop 8 week to week, that's going to be a big move. Has the dating life kicked up in any way? Is it?
No, I don't really have time for that, man. I'm working.
So many women
school.
circle his desk at work at Extra when we're doing the TV show. They love it. He's like the most
Can't
popular
date
guy
at work.
All right, handsome. Congrats, buddy. Love it. Now we will continue this final segment of Hot Mike's Health with some really great news for someone I really like. She's a neighbor of mine. You know her from a few years on The Real Housewives. But Teddy Mellencamp was in at Extra. I did an interview with her last week, and she told me Wednesday was a big day for her to get some results. She's got the 4 tumors that her melanoma metastasized, and she had 4 tumors in her brain and 2 in her lungs. And so she went to get some tests on that and see if the radiation and the immunotherapy had been working. She rolled this today on her Instagram. Take a look.
Really exciting news, everyone. Honestly, the crying is already done, but I just finished with all of my scans, and my tumors have significantly shrunk, which doctors believe means that this all will work and that I will be back to myself and feeling good. I have 2 more sessions of immunotherapy, and then hopefully I am done and I will be cancer free. I'm going to keep a positive outlook because that's the way.
Had a girl. So she's going to join us on Hot Mics. I told her to come in. We'll talk a little bit about the journey, but just a little bit, and then we'll go have some fun. We'll talk some pop culture. We'll talk some entertainment. She's very sassy. She's very funny. I want to just get her having some fun. That is it for us, Hot Mics today. Wow, all over the place. Can't wait to see you back here on Monday, and we'll see you on all the socials. And if you're watching on YouTube and haven't subscribed, please do. See you later.